Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. Alrighty, it's episode 94, and today we're talking about pivot.
I love this topic. We came up with it because before we started recording today, we were talking about how we're pivoting in our businesses. And I went, oh, well, we should talk about pivoting.
Exactly.
Because it's something that Diana and I are intimately familiar with, and it's one of the things that makes us as successful as we are.
Well, and one of the funny things, too, is I've noticed this as a trend in a lot of my friends' businesses right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, particularly. Maybe the sun and moon and whatever is aligned in a certain way, but I've noticed a lot of people, pivoting, shifting in their lives.
Right.
In meaningful ways. So,
well, we talked about how we've taken a particular the entrepreneur set has taken over the word pivot to mean a course correction, or let's use that word I like so much, a course evolution.
Yes.
So it's it's not like a 360. It's a tweak. It's an acknowledgement that things are changing and going, okay, how am I going to adjust to this change, or even better, how am I going to make this change work for me?
Well, and sometimes we were talking before that this pivot, this shift starts to happen and you're not even fully aware of it because you're more focused on the moment and what you're working on. And this evolution kind of happens. And when you take that pause that we like to do so much and step back and go, oh, hold on, I'm in a different direction a little bit.
Right.
But it's working. So let's keep that momentum going.
Right. And I think it can, the trick is to not be afraid of a pivot and to recognize it. And then, like I said, to use it to your advantage. The thing is, to me at least, is when I see people pivoting successfully, they're open-minded. They're open to the process. They're not scared. Well, if they are, they just hide it, because we're good at that.
Well, they just do it anyway.
Well, but they're flexible. Mm-hmm. And part of growing a business, a career, a family is being able to accommodate the changes that come your way.
Yeah, and keep
as
up
opposed
with
to
them.
fighting them.
Yes,
opposed to fighting them. If you accommodate them, if you fold them in, then the outcome is going to be better because there's a reason it's shifting. There's a reason it's changing.
Well, the people and the businesses who resist that kind of change, who resist that kind of pivot, and insist that this way is still the right way, get stuck.
Right.
And their business gets stuck, and a lot of times they'll fail. And which is what they're trying to avoid in the first place because they're scared of the pivot. But, if you don't move along as the world is moving along, then you will get stuck.
And it's life. Mm-hmm. It's life. It's all facets of life. If you're so married to the way you do things and it's so entrenched in who you are that there's no room to pivot, which is not like a 180. It's just a tweak, just a little adjustment. Then you and everybody in your sphere, if it's your family or the business you're running or whatever, then it becomes a quagmire. It's instead of, a evolving like organism.
Well, and a lot of people can relate to like being in a relationship that doesn't pivot. If you take two individuals and put them together in a relationship and they still act like two individuals and don't, try to work together in any place and don't create that pivot point for the relationship,
Right.
then that relationship isn't going to stick together. And that works with any kind of relationship.
Right. Right. Because one of the definitions we read, a pivot, when you Google pivot, is that it's that person, like picturing a marching band, and they're doing a circle and it goes around in a circle. The pivot is the person that it all goes around. So it's the foundational piece. Mm-hmm. So what, you have to know who your foundational piece is or what your foundational piece is so that you know what's stable, right? What's stable.
Well, and that's why we talk so much about personality and understanding who you are. Because when you are the pivot piece, when you are that stable piece, then it's much easier to accept the pivot,
right,
as things unfold, because you know that there's still that stable piece.
Right. Well, let's give some examples in our own lives of how we've pivoted. For me, my pivot has involved, and this is real normal for people who have their own businesses, has involved my market. Who's my market? Who am I trying to reach? I started out as launch and relaunch career coaching, working on people who were launching, like getting to work the first time, whatever, and then relaunching people who are going back to work. Women who who've been at home for a while and they're ready to go back to work. So I did that, and that was my brand for. Well, the name was my name for a year. Then I changed it. There's a trend. You'll notice it. Then I changed it to Becky Berry Career Coaching, like it is now. But I changed what the brand looked like. And I was still going for, like stay-at-home moms who are re-entering, women who are changing up things. It was always focused towards women because I are one. And I understand all of those pieces, based on my history of staying at home myself and going back to work and all that stuff. And then this last one is I think it's a year and a half old now. I think that's about right. And when it started, I aimed it at millennials because I had gotten a lot of traction with millennials, and I was, and I thought, oh, well, I'll do this. And I did it. And I was like, oh, no, no. And it went back and the people I had started with were coming back to me. So I pivoted and I pivoted. Sometimes I pivot visually, like I change what the brand looks like. Then I pivoted with my clients. Boom, that was millennials. And now I've pivoted right back to where I started, which was pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And it works because the common denominator, the pivots all taking place around me. I'm still working with people. I'm still helping them, what is it that I say? That I help people embrace the potential that they're afraid to admit that they have. So that's, and then building the community, those two things. And each time I've pivoted, I've gotten closer to it. So it's a good thing. And of course, change is my middle name. So pivoting doesn't bother me. But I don't know that I noticed explicitly when I moved from millennials back to older clients. I just went one day and went, oh, look. I'm like, okay, all right, that's where I'm going. Start writing a different way, get back to my original people.
Well, and as you're talking, I'm very visual. So a lot of times people picture a pivot looking more like a compass where you got the little sharp end in the paper and you're drawing a little circle around. But in truth, it's more like a spirograph where you got the little pin holding down one thing, but you're bouncing off of all these other things to make the little curly cues on the paper.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant.
Because a pivot is definitely, or very rarely, a smooth thing. Mm-hmm. You are bouncing off of different things and you're gathering information, and as you're going around and like, oh yeah, this works, this doesn't work. We talk about this all the time about, taking what you want and leaving the rest, and that's how you learn. That's how you do it. So a pivot, I think that's one of the things that freaks people out is when they first start to pivot, if they bump up against something, it's like, whoa, and then they want to go back.
Yeah.
where you and I are used to bumping around like a bumper car.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
like, no big deal. It's another rock.
Yeah, right. Right.
But that's because we have such a strong foundation of who we are.
Right.
And so our actual pivot point is very solid. And so we trust the pivot point so that everything else can pivot around it.
Have you got a pivot story? I'm thinking of one. I'm thinking of Friday.
Oh, well, yeah, I've got plenty of pivot stories, but yeah, so Friday,
I want you to push it I want you to talk about it on the podcast. So go.
Okay. So this Friday, which whenever this comes out, will be September 1st, as we're recording. September 1st is Thyroid Cancer Awareness Month. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I know why you're launching this.
There was a method to my madness.
Well, I didn't care. I just thought you were like, I'm doing this.
Well, but
which is the essence of pivoting. I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So earlier this year, I found a lump around my neck and then had it checked out. And it turned out to be thyroid cancer, which is very rare. Usually the lumps are just nodules or cysts or goiters or whatever, and they just kind of can take those out and don't have to really mess with the thyroid. But they have since taken out half my thyroid. They're going to take out the other half. I get to do some radioactive iodine. My son is making me a playlist of radioactive songs. He's
radioactive.
He's almost, yeah, exactly. He thought I was going to be upset. I'm like, no, that's cool. Get me Spider-Man on there and everything else. I want to know if I can spin webs when I'm done. But as I was going through this process, I spent a couple days, down the rabbit hole of Google trying to get some more information because that's what I do. And a lot of the information that I got was so negative, and I've spent so much time in positivity,
right,
that I didn't want to go back to this negative thing. There had to be a way. This is part of that strong foundation of a pivot point. There had to be a way that I could still stay in this positive state.
Be Diana.
Yeah, and move forward with this diagnosis and not let it, shake up my whole world and
not be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, since I couldn't find one, I decided to create one. So, Friday, I am launching the No Thigh Zone for people who have lost their thyroid because there is a lot of limited information out there. There's a couple really good nonprofits that are advocating for it and working with doctors, but a lot of the resources revolve around the surgery of it and not the aftercare, and that's what I was more concerned about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
surgery's over.
Yeah.
Next.
And they throw you on a pill, and you have to be on this pill for the rest of your life because you don't have a thyroid, and you can't live without a thyroid. So, but a lot of people were struggling. So I decided to start this No Thigh Zone.
So what's your website called?
NoThighZone.com.
Spell it.
NoThyZone.com. And there's a membership site part, but there's also, if you don't feel like being part of a membership, there is going to be lots of information. We're going to be doing webinars, newsletters, Monday motivational graphics. If you are part of the membership, then I've got it somewhat structured. So Monday's about motivation, Tuesday's about tips, Wednesdays I call wine, and wine. So the first three weeks is wine as in toasting, and then the last one you can whine because you have to have a little bit of that whining in there. But I don't want that to be the focus.
Yeah, well, you said the whole purpose was to get away from the whole negativity that's pasted all over this.
Yep. And then Thursdays we're going to do thankfulness or gratitude, and Fridays is about fun. A lot of people forget to have fun. They get a diagnosis and they're not feeling the greatest, but when you add that fun piece to your life, then, and you keep that going, that keeps you going.
Right.
You got to have a little fun.
Well, and I know you, so I know you're going to include this, but this is really, this kind of approach is near and dear to my heart because, I don't do traditional medicine anyway. One of the things that doctors are finally twigging into, like it's rocket science, is that your body adapts to things. Now we know how incredibly adaptable the brain was, and for, millennia we thought it was what it was. Well, no, not really. Well, our bodies do that too, whether you have a heart transplant, your thyroid removed, or whatever. So when you do that Fun Friday, you're saying, hey, it's all good.
Yes.
It's all good, and that makes it good.
Yes.
that makes it good.
Absolutely.
So your body goes, oh, cool. All right. Because, would you make a note about this? There's a YouTube video. Were you there when we showed this?
I don't know.
Remember when we were doing, in my next chapter meetup group, we were doing, what do you do? The boards that I
the vision boards.
The vision boards.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, I want to see some science behind this. How does it really work? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I found a YouTube video where it shows them where they've done experiments where they've taken DNA out of your body, put it in a closed room, and you think about something, and the DNA changes.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Science. Mm-hmm. Not hokey, not all the woo-woo stuff I already do, and then they prove it. And I'm like, I told you it was real.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
I told you it was real. And that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly, it's a real thing. And there's no platform. And listen, raise your hand out there if you know somebody who's had thyroid cancer, all those thyroid problems, raise your hand, right? How negative is everything? Totally. So when you can move to this space, your outcome's going to be better regardless for your body.
Yeah.
Because your brain controls your body. Hello?
And as we talked about a few episodes ago, what you think about, you get.
Right.
So if you think about poor me, oh, this stinks, whatever, then everything stinks and poor you.
Right.
But, and that goes back to this pivot thing. I'm trying to create a stronger pivot point for a new reality. So if you have the reality of not having a thyroid, then you know what? That's a new place to start. That's a new thing that you have to adapt to, and that's creating another pivot point. When you do a little, back to the spirograph, when you do a spirograph, you don't just keep one pin in, you move the pin around. Sometimes you have to do that.
To find it. Right.
And because life changes, you don't, your pin does not stay in the same place. You do not.
Ever.
No, ever. So sometimes your pivot point, if you are the pin, if you are the pivot point, that's great, but sometimes you have to move and bounce off of new things.
Right. That's really, it's really important. It's really important. So, do not tell me. I cannot figure out why I cannot remember the name of this site. Because, when I hear thighs, that's one of my sore points on my body.
Well,
my
I know,
body is thighs. But I think it's perfect. No thigh zone is perfect.
Well, at first I started off with the no fly zone because it's also known as the butterfly gland.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, but it looks like one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of other sites out there about that, and some of them were kind of weird, and I didn't want to be associated with them. So
no, I like No Thigh Zone. NOTHYZONE.com.
Yes, and then our secret group on Facebook is going to be the No Thigh Zone Club.
Yeah, and that's part of the subscription.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the subscription going to be? Have you figured it out? I mean, as long as we're talking about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go month to month, it's $12. I don't want to make anybody really stressed out. I mean, There's enough other things to be stressed out about. So we're keeping it low. It's going to be $12 for that. 3 months, I think it breaks down to $11 a month. And then if you do a year, it's $10 a month.
Yeah, good. I was figuring.
Yeah. And you can do, if you know somebody that has, you can do gift subscriptions, because that was really important to me too, because a lot of times when people in your life experience different things,
you
don't know what to do, and this is something you could do for somebody else.
I like that.
So I'm really excited, and this is a way I'm pivoting and making. Everybody keeps telling me I'm making lemonade out of lemons, but
well, I mean, you do that anyway. Newsflash.
Exactly.
Newsflash.
I love lemonade.
Well, I think it's really good, because I know how discouraged you were when you were reading about this. I mean, you were really gnashing your teeth, upset about this negativity. And you can't have a good outcome that way. So, this is a place where you give people an opportunity to pivot the way they think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another manifestation of pivoting.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I knew that I couldn't live that way. And moreover, if I could do something about it, I couldn't let other people live that way.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to hammer on this again because it's really important. You came up with this because you were receptive, adaptable, flexible, and most importantly of all, aware.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you were buying in to all the stuff you were being sold, you would have never done this.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't have been open to it. But since your positivity is core, it's your core value, then there wasn't really another option for you. You had to find a way
I did.
to flip the script.
And one of the things that when you have that sort of solid foundation, especially that mental foundation, when you get to a place that you really like this whole positivity stuff that I've been taking on and this growth mindset of things, your brain doesn't let you stay there. You know, I talk about on the website a little bit, you know, this 2-day travel down the rabbit hole. And the last post I read was some lady from 2011 saying, is there any positive advice out there anywhere? And I felt the same thing. I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so I sat there and wallowed for a little bit. But the next morning it was like, okay, I'm over it. What can I do?
Well, that's one of those things we have in common, right? Because I founded my Next Chapter meetup group to answer the question that I kept getting asked by every coach I ever had is, where do your people gather? And when the answer is they don't, you create one. And that's exactly what you did.
Yep.
Right? You didn't go, oh, somebody's got to do this. You're like, oh, yeah, I'll just create it myself. And you know what? Just totally, and you're already here because I know you. I know you. I've been around you for almost 2 years now. All that work you did on your book totally translates to this.
Oh, yeah.
Totally 100% tweak. There you are.
Well, the weird thing was that I started seeing new uses for connections I've made and things I learned. And, you know, a lot of stuff came together around this. And a lot of it I haven't quite executed yet, but I know it's there. And I can see another purpose for it. So that's another kind of awareness around that. And that's another thing I'm pivoting around is you see the people around you a little bit differently, almost like being on a merry-go-round, you know.
Yeah.
Some people are blurry when you go by and some people are clear.
Yeah.
It's just an odd phenomenon.
And people who were blurry before through the lens of the no thigh zone, they become much clearer how they're in your life. Right? Yeah. So, you know, I wonder if it's no accident that you never finished that book.
I don't think anything's an accident. You know me. But the one thing, though, when we started talking about this, about pivoting, because, you know, as we were talking, we do it, I don't know if I want to say elegantly, but we do it. We know.
I'm going to say we do it elegantly, and if anybody wants to object, let me know why. And then I'll think about it.
Yeah. But, I mean, like a spirograph, it's those little, you know, even circles and bouncing off and, okay, I'm spinning back around again, that kind of thing. Because when you don't have that strong pivot point and you're faced with a challenge, everything becomes very haphazard.
Right.
And then you're bouncing around like a pinball.
Yeah, and then it gets the jaggedy angles in there instead
and you get bumped and bruised.
Instead of the curves.
And it's just...
Boy, how far can we take this metaphor?
I know. It's like way fun.
Seriously, I mean, if you think about it,
yeah.
When you're bouncing up against things instead of bouncing off them, you know, you get the angles and you get the jaggedy things and the things that cut you and hurt you.
But if you look, I mean, I'm going to throw another metaphor in there. I just keep thinking about like sea glass and shells. They get smoother after being tumbled.
Right, rocks.
A lot of things get really smoothed out and become things of beauty just from...
They just evolve into smooth things.
Yep.
They were beautiful already. Yeah, exactly. I've always loved the word pivot. It's never been something that really scared me. I used to think it was wrong to do it. I thought there was something wrong with me that I kept changing what I was doing. But then the more I listened to my entrepreneur podcast, I was like, oh, no, this is good.
Well, I think the bill of goods we were sold was much more linear. And you're told that, you know, you do this and then you do this and you do this. And I was talking to somebody not long ago who was telling me about their uncle or somebody who graduated from college and started this in his company at the bottom level and, you know, is just now getting his gold watch or whatever. I'm like, that's so rare now. That used to be the idea for a little while.
Yeah.
But that is such a rare occurrence. And if you look at our history, it was only like a short period of time that was actually a common occurrence, you know, in some of the industrialized places. But a lot of people, you know, in order for this country, in order for this whole world actually to be explored and stuff, people moved, they changed, they checked out things. You know, there were the people that were staying
Yeah, but that wasn't the majority of the people. The majority of the people bought the bill of goods about retirement and all that stuff, which is fine. I'd rather be able to pivot. That's just mine. You were just saying about the linear, the linear progressions and stuff. Pivoting is kind of an organic process. Do you know? If you let it be.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you let it be. Because change happens. And your choice is to be, like we said at the very beginning, to be a rock and not be movable.
Yeah.
Or to flow and pivot and turn and take whatever it is you need to take with you and just keep going. But it's more organic than...
Well, and even if you think of...
There are no straight lines in nature.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
I stood outside one day. Remember I said that? I think I said it to you. I was like, there aren't any straight lines in nature.
Mm-mm.
I mean, really, seriously, none. The horizon's not straight.
No.
Trees aren't straight.
So the natural process is actually to pivot, to adjust, to adapt.
Right. So, boom.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Well, we felt pretty passionate about this one today. So we're going to take a second and figure out our stamp of brilliance, and we will be right back. So hold on.
Alrighty. Today's stamp of brilliance is create a strong pivot point for your new reality, whatever that may be.
Right? You are the pivot point.
Yep.
So, create it, own it, use it.
And if something moves your pin, you can pivot from there too.
Just picture that spirograph.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Alrighty, well, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also, take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes. Check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me and sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot any thoughts, comments, and suggestions to us at uniquelybrilliant.me. You can also reach out to us on your Facebook page, and don't forget to like us. Oh, and by the way, we're also on YouTube.
Yep. YouTube is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So also, don't forget Diana's new site that's launching on September 1st called it's just No Thigh Zone. NOTHYZONE.com. I think it's going to be pretty amazing. A lot of good support, a different point of view.
Yep.
A different point of view. All right. Until next time.